collectively, I think we would have seen a few generations getting into the workforce and maturing, right? And we are now seeing the Gen Z getting into the workforce. So, do you see this whole idea of, or this whole thing about building the cat, the potential tension in doing so, being lesser in this generation than earlier? Are they are they more irreverent, if you will, or are they more stupid, if you will, in than previous generations? And is that, and what do you think is the consequences of that, is what I would say. We can start from you, Zaid, because he started this side.
20 years of my career, I've done campus hiring in college for at least 15 or 16 of those years. And I think we've definitely seen a shift in terms of mindset of what youngsters want. And, in my previous organization, so I was in the Bajaj Allianz General Insurance Company for 16 years, part of the FinServ group. And we said, there's no reason we shouldn't go to the premier B schools, right? So we decided to take that plunge. We went to the first year we went for the hiring, we went to the top colleges, and it was a complete disaster. Every student left in the first 1 year. They didn't want to sell insurance, they wanted to get into strategy. We were not ready for it. As an organization, we were not ready for it. But it also made us realize one thing, and I remember Mr. Bajaj himself actually telling us this, that you have to understand that we need to adapt to how students have a different requirement now. 15 years back, if I went to a campus, I'd probably be asking more questions. Today, it's the other way around. The students are asking us more questions about the role, about the company, about the culture. It's also, I was very recently speaking to the placement officer of a premier college, and he mentioned that last couple of years have been very interesting. The colleges have not achieved 100% placement, but that's by choice. The students, there are companies that are coming in and students aren't sitting for those companies because they're very clear on what they want to do today. I think that clarity wasn't there 15, 20 years back. A student may have had a clear, this thing that they want a career in BFSI as a sector. But today they want, even within that, they're very clear what within BFSI do they want to do. I think that clarity is phenomenal in the students coming out today than what it was maybe 10, 15 years back.
Have you, in your organization, have you seen this generation standing up or probably even questioning, and the ease at which, if any, that's happening? Like, is it different from how it has been earlier?
Yeah, so I remember, one of my directs, one day he came very frustrated to me, and he himself is a rank holder in CA, and he started his career about 20 years back. So he came very frustrated to me and said that, I just finished an interview with a fresher. So I said, then why are you frustrated? He said, I gave him, I gave him a pitch of, what he's going to do, how his activity is fitting into the big picture, etc. And he listened, very peacefully. And then at the end, I asked him, do you have any questions? So the other guy, the candidate said, yes, I have 2 questions. So he said, yes, what is it? So he said, I expected him to ask me, how is the bank doing? What is my future of career? But he asked me only 2 questions. One, how many days do I need to come to office to work? And the second question which he asked is, how many times do I have to work beyond 6 o'clock? So I said, what is wrong in that question? So he said, no, when I started my career, my first few years, I tried to establish myself, do as much learning as possible so that in my future, it becomes useful. I said, but the generation has changed. You can't assume that, what worked in your time will now work. So you need to also adopt. To the point which my colleague mentioned, we also need to adopt to that culture. So basically, how open are you in terms of this thing? Because today, the unfortunate part is the span of attention is also very poor because everything is on social media. If you do something which is not interesting, you will see that, people are mentally there, physically out. So it's exactly like that. So you need to be very, very clear as to what exactly will be exciting them and what is that which you can do which can meet their objective but at the same time the organizational objective, and that's how you need to ensure that you are breeding the new generation.
How has it been across countries, sir? Are you seeing difference in the Gen Z?
Yes, I can definitely see it in the tech area. I can see a lot more questions. I can see a lot more resistance, and I can also see a question which is constantly getting asked. Okay, with this new wave of artificial intelligence coming in, will my job be secured after a year? And that's what I've been noticing a lot. I think the questions of worth ethics and all of that is still, to your point, okay, they are more concerned about the work-life balance. The older, I would say one generation back would be the first to come in and last to leave, sort of thing. That is no longer prevalent in the next generation. There are questions which I have got asked, that if I am going to do certain level in the tech term about machine learning and everything, how many tokens of AI am I going to get? Okay, are you going to limit me on that? Okay, in which case my productivity will not be that high. So the entire questions are getting changed. In some cases they are right, okay, but I think the paradox of where the world is today, where some areas are not very well defined, they are getting confused, and I think that confusion needs to be addressed.
Karthik, in thinking of what as a leadership, right now you're just coming off a very important retreat, right? You said so. As a leadership, how are companies, like as a leader yourself, how are companies able responding to such situations, right? I can be, as a student or as a freshly joining employee on the board, I can ask questions and that I can attribute it later to stupidity or irreverence. But how is company leadership, are you seeing evolving to this kind of a change, if any?
I think it's about one thing that you asked about, what you mentioned, right? About we asking questions versus the candidate or the person sitting on the other side asking questions. I think not even, I would say that I think the approach has been, we know what typically what's, with the questions that we've asked and we spent enough time in the campus and freshers, we know what they're looking for. I think one fundamental change is not just looking at themselves, at what they're going to do, but I think their focus has now shifted to more towards what is going to be the outcome. It's to the effort, it's not about what effort I have to put in, but about what outcomes are you looking at. And I think they are more concerned about what is that, this is what I need to do. It's not about how I need to do certain things, how many hours I need to work, what I need to put in, but what is it that you're really going to measure me against, which is the outcome based. I think that most of them are clear. I wouldn't say all of them, but most of them are approached that way as to what do you think is success for me, what do you think is success for the organization, and are we able to align on what that success parameter is. I think that is something which is, most people are now outspoken about it, and that's what we are tailoring it to. Saying when we talk to them, we're not talking about what you're going to do. Yes, that's a little bit part of it, but more in terms of what is the purpose of doing all of these things. What is it that you're looking to achieve? More outcome and purpose driven is what we are approaching from leadership, so that we can share that vision with them as to why we are doing it. It's not about how we are doing it. How we are doing it is important, the process and the mechanics are important, but understanding why we are doing all of this. I think that is a fundamental change that we have had to make, because it's also driven. And I'll tell you, a great example is one of the freshers had, we had gone to the campus, the routine questions about the technical topics and all that happened. And when it was their turn, and we said, if you have any questions, and he had some questions about the organization and so on and so forth, but he said, I have one important question. I want to know, how do you spend your CSR? And it was, the person sitting on the other side was not, let's say, not very well versed on being able to provide a satisfactory or intelligent answer in that regard. But that made us think as to saying, hey, it's something that we needed as leadership to also educate our kind of panelists, so to speak, who are going to be representing our firm, that we give them insight as to what's happening, because this is relevant for them, which means we got to educate them because they can represent our firm and share that we're doing a lot of it, but sometimes it doesn't, you get to hear it on, on town halls and you just forget about it. But then how do we educate our panelists as well? So it's also a lot of learning internally within the organization as we go into and meeting a lot of the candidates. So that's how I would say in terms of leadership, more broad-based, but very purpose and outcome-driven.
So there is a change that you see from the top as well to.
Absolutely, you have to stay in tune with what you want. Otherwise, just running through presentations and running through, the processes is, you need a bit of it to understand the mechanics, but that's really not the heart of it. That is just, just a form. Substance of it is more important. And I think the substance has to be understand why you're doing certain things and what is the real impact that you're making. Once you're able to do that, most folks are able to relate. Some of them may not be able to do it, but most folks want to understand as to why they're doing this. And career progression, all of those aside, why is it that they're looking to do, and what is the purpose that they're looking to achieve?